Hello, this is wmpyr. I received several questions in the comment section, so I'm going to try to answer that. The first one is okay, it's asking me, is Balintawak the same style as what you do? Okay, the answer is a yes and no. It is a yes in a sense that Eskrima, Kali, Arnis is the same, and I teach basic fundamentals of traditional Eskrima, Kali, Arnis. So it falls into that category, Balintawak Eskrima. So in that sense, yes, as far as basics and fundamentals, they're all going to be the same. Now, that very specific style of Balintawak is a no. I've never trained in that, and I'm thinking, have I ever trained with someone that actually did balintawak? I don't think so. Okay, so in that sense, it is a no. All right, um, because when you talk about eskrima, kali, and arnis, just like in karate, there's a bunch of those. So you have, like, within karate, you have various types of Okinawan karate. You have Shotokan karate, Goju-ryu karate, Shito-ryu karate. There's a bunch. Kyokushin kai karate, Seido kai kan karate. Within karate, there's a lot. So the same thing with Eskrima, Kali, and Arnis. So within those, there's a bunch. So you're asking me about something very, very specific in that sense. So then, have I done that or not? And the question is, what is mine specifically then? If it's not Balintawak, what is it? And I have to tell you then, there's several that I trained in, but um, the one that I kind of stick to the most, just not any favoritism or thinking one is better than the other, has nothing to do with that. The first one that I learned was Arnis, okay, and so that kind of tends to be my main. And the Arnis is from Professor Remy Presas branch, okay. So technically I am a second generation student of Professor Remy Presas. So that is my lineage. I'm not certified. It's nothing official. I'm not affiliated. Nothing like that. But that is where I learned Arnis, my very first experience with it. So that is what I kind of tend to stick with. And once again, traditional wise, I only teach the basics, the fundamentals. Why? Because I think that's the most important. So I tend to do that. Now, from there on, once you cover the main basics, you could start going more specific. Like, some will go more towards long range, some will be more towards close range, some will focus on the knife, some will focus on the bolo, the machete, or whatever it is, the school specializes in. So in that sense, I kind of did the same thing for me. There's certain areas that I prefer more than others. The Balintawak guys, from my understanding, they look like they seem to specialize in close range. And some people call it hubad, some people call it tapi tapi. It could also be called, I just call it 1-for-1. It is close range partner training stuff that I see a lot of. And yes, I teach fundamentals of that. I don't teach the intermediate or advanced stuff. Why? Because I never got into it. I never, for me, when I learned that, I immediately knew that I was going to modify that to make it work for me. And so I went in a different direction. So rather than trying to master that and keep going the traditional way for the close range 1-for-1 type drills, I moved away in a different direction and went into more full contact clinch fighting stuff. Okay, so that's just me personally. So and one reason why I did that, and why I've made my own style in a sense, is because my lineage, Professor Remy Presas, when he talked about Arnis de Mano, and modern arnis. Okay, so two types of arnis. Okay, so arnis de mano is the traditional version. Modern arnis, I used to think that it was just a new version of it, a new style, right? And now I don't think that anymore. My understanding of it has changed. Modern arnis is you getting the tradition. Once you learn the traditional, then you make it your own. So whatever that means to you. So for some people, it's functionalizing it for whatever purpose. Some people want self-defense skills. Other people want combat skills. Other people, they just want, historical skills or whatever. Um, for Professor Remy Presas, that I can tell, is he mixed it with Okinawan karate and Japanese jiu-jitsu. So he, changed it from the traditional and made it his own that way. So his interpretation, so his modern arnis and your modern arnis and my modern arnis, all three can be totally different. And so that's why once I learned the basic, the fundamental traditional Kali Eskrima arnis, I moved and started doing my own thing. And that's the way that I teach too. So I teach my students the traditional Kali Eskrima arnis, and then from there, I show you what I did, so you guys get an idea and you do your thing. That's my understanding, and that's the way that I teach it, because I feel like, that's what was passed on to me. So, and it makes sense to me, and I like that. I like that method very much. So, okay, the next one, I got a question in Japanese. They asked me, how do you go up against basically the samurai sword, So against the samurai, and I have two machetes, the Filipino martial arts, how do you go up against someone like that? And the answer is pretty simple. Okay, I don't want to take too long here. Is in the Filipino martial arts, honestly, I don't think it changes whether it's a samurai or whether it's a Viking or whether it's a Spanish fencer, which is what they had to deal with back in the day. So, in other words, all of those guys are superior warriors that were awesome with their sword. That's what the Filipinos had to face. So when you have to face something like that, you have to use guerrilla warfare. And that's, if you understand the Filipino culture, and even though I'm not Filipino, I feel like I understand the culture, the history, where they're coming from. Those guys, the Filipinos, became excellent at guerrilla warfare. That is their mentality. So that goes into their martial arts as well. And guerrilla warfare expressed in Filipino martial arts is defang the snake, okay, to put it simply. What is guerrilla warfare? If you look it up, it means irregular fighting. Why? Because, irregular fight, it's not normal fighting. That's what they had to use. Why? Because those guys, the samurai or the Spanish fencers or the Vikings or whatever, the superior forces, those guys can do normal fighting because they're experts. They're excellent at it. They could do the normal way. And to face against that, you had to use irregular tactics. You can't do what they do because they're going to destroy you. So I hope that covers that. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.